The crypto market is starting to fill with fear again. There's only a few coins that you need to hold right now if you want to be in the very best position for what is about to unfold. In this video, I'm going to talk about what those coins are. I'm going to talk about exactly what is happening in the market right now and why you really need to pay attention right this second in order to make the smartest decision going forward. Hit the like button and let's get into today's video. Now, those of you who've been paying attention to crypto in the last few hours would have noticed that Bitcoin has had a bit of a tumultuous day, at one point being down around 3%, which has sent the whole crypto market tumbling towards the downside. Why on earth might that be, do you think? Well, there's this piece of news which is extremely important. Israel-Hamas war is escalating. This is obviously a very sad story because it's going to affect a lot of civilian people, but this is a channel discussing finance and crypto, and this is going to have a very big potential impact on the world of crypto and finance. Now, I wanted to bring you this video today while many others are bringing you a similar, at least what you think is similar video. Ivan on Tech, Crypto's Arrest, Crypto Casey, have all been delivering news about whether or not this is going to have a very negative impact on cryptocurrency. Now, there is obviously the chance that this escalates into a full-blown war, which, many think it may have already done. So why is it such a point of contention? Well, right now, Israel is backed by the United States and has always had a very tight allegiance with the United States. On the flip side of things, you got Hamas, team who basically appear to be a proxy from Iran. You could also have other players in the mix, China, Russia, etc. And I'm not here to paint conspiracy theories about all this, but all I'm trying to anticipate is how severe would this war be and what would the implications for the markets and cryptocurrency specifically be. Well, before we dive in and look at what cryptocurrencies I'm holding right now in this particular situation, let's just pay attention to this post here from Miles Deutscher, which is the S&P 500 performance over particular events in history, such as the bombing of Pearl Harbor back in 1941. Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, a US base in Hawaii. Now, this caused a little bit of a knock-on effect 1 month after, but 12 months after, 0.4%. You can come down the list, and there's only a few that were really quite negative in terms of impact. One in 1956, which is a Suez Canal crisis. The Arab oil embargo in 1973 caused a 36% drop 12 months later. And then 9/11 back in 2001 caused an 18% drop. Interestingly though, March 2003, the Iraq War saw a 28.4% increase. So what can we take from this? Well, there is a few things to kind of consider. Suez Canal crisis, Arab oil embargo, and 9/11 would have had a negative impact on the US economy. One, because it's attacking their financial center, their ability to handle trade and things like that in 9/11. If you're going to go and look at the oil embargo, obviously it would have cut down the availability of oil. It would make everything in the country more expensive and more difficult to run, energy shortages, etc. So that's obviously pretty bad. But there are a lot of other things where you see big gains. Why are we seeing massive gains from the Gulf War? Why are we seeing big gains from the Iraq War? Well, guys, there's possibly a few reasons for this. When a country goes to war, the US, the UK, whoever it is insanely expensive. Okay? Military equipment is like the most insanely expensive thing ever, and budgets to support wars are huge, particularly the United States, who has the world's most powerful, biggest, most technologically advanced military that there is. Now, when governments need to suddenly create a lot of money to pay for things like supporting a country such as Israel in the Middle East in this particular war, what are they likely to do? Well, many people think that it's going to put a big strain on the economy. It potentially will, because it's going to cost lots of money. But what they will do in order to suddenly create money is, guess what? They print more money. And they print more money, and what else do they do? Well, they need to create funds very quickly, and they can do that through the sale of bonds. Now, bonds you can't really sell very easily when the interest rates are sky high. So guess what? You need to bring down the interest rates to encourage people to buy bonds. You're like, what on earth are you talking about? This is too technical, this is too whatever. Okay, fair enough, but guys, this is the crypto market since back in when? 2021, November the 13th. What happened to it? It went down. Why did it go down? I hear you cry. Well, it probably has something to do with this. This is around November 2021, and this is the DXY, or the US dollar index. Since then, we saw the US dollar gaining a massive amount of power. How did it do this? It did it because the interest rates were high. It encouraged people to put their money in the dollar. It also tried to curb inflation. It meant the demand for the US dollar went up. When the US dollar is in high demand, other assets are not so much in demand. It's not such a favorable environment for investors. If further inflation happens and the interest rates go down, then theoretically, you would anticipate that the US dollar would start to decline. When the US dollar is in decline, assets stacked against the US dollar, such as Bitcoin, theoretically should go up. Okay, this is obviously highly speculative, but I just wanted to address the other side of things. Whilst I'm not saying that any of these guys are wrong in what they're talking about, they did talk from the point of view of this being terrible for cryptocurrency. Okay, so I wanted to address perhaps another side of things. We're still in that same cycle for Bitcoin right now. We're still running towards the halving. Now, many people feel that the halving is about to change everything for crypto, and that's really what causes everything. Well, actually, I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. Crypto links in very closely with this halving cycle, which is a 4-year cycle. But realistically, actually, it comes from something different. In 2008, which is when the financial collapse happened, in the financial collapse, the government tried to create a situation from quantitative easing where they completely wiped away everyone's debt by removing interest rates. They put them down to 0%. What was the effect of this? Well, it caused the market to recover very, very quickly and move into the new cycle. This cycle runs for 4 years, where it runs from times of hard times, where interest rates have to go up to curb inflation, to then quantitative easing, which then goes to a time where it's easy. Right now, you will probably feel the pinch because your food and everything that you're buying at the shops, your milk and your eggs and your bread and whatever else, is much more expensive than it was a few years ago. On the flip side of things, you're not getting paid more money, and the money you've got in mortgages and the money you're borrowing to buy your car and whatever is now way more expensive to repay. This squeeze causes people to be in a very uncomfortable situation. However, they can't last in this situation forever, and it puts banks and everyone else under massive strain as well. And they're pushing the economy to a point at which it's very close to breaking. However, they must at some point start to ease up on it. And why? Because next year as well is an election year. And you're going to find it hard to vote for someone who's been in charge, who's been driving your economy to a very uncomfortable position. So guess what they do? They ease up. If all of these things happen together at the same time they're considering going to war, then maybe this could also lead to a time that's actually very positive. This negative news in the market right now leads me to believe something else is going on, and actually to pay attention to something different. If you're looking at this post here from El Crypto Prof, you'll see that this comes out of an accumulation phase from a Wyckoff accumulation pattern. Okay, you can see that right now the anticipated move up next is towards the upside. There are endless diagrams sat in a position right now that are indicating that we could be very close to a very aggressive leg up, and that's stacking against previous data from previous bull markets. Many people are sat right now waiting for a black swan event, and the YouTubers who have been talking about this war are starting to indicate that maybe, just maybe, this is our black swan event. Here you can see back in 2015 and 2019, we were in a very similar position leading in to the halving cycle. Now, after 2019's initial pump, you run into this black swan event, which was COVID-19. So there's always the potential that this could happen again. But with so many people out there waiting for something to happen, it tends to be something that doesn't happen. So the only thing we can do, and I've talked about this before, is anticipate whether something is going to happen or not. Doesn't matter. All we can theoretically do is position ourselves for both occasions coming out. Why is that? Well, if you're in the camp of I 100% believe there's going to be a black swan event, then you've got like a 50% chance of being right. Because if you're right, then you'll absolutely nail it. But if you're wrong, then you're really, really messed up, okay? Because you're going to get left for dead. And I'll explain in a minute why. If, however, you're in the camp of I 100% believe it's going to go higher from here, and it goes towards the downside, well, the worst case scenario is you now spend the next 6 months in the red. And of course, both of these scenarios can play out. And why it's so important, if we look into the Bitcoin chart, we know that when Bitcoin moves, everything else takes a bigger move. It's because Bitcoin is bigger and less volatile. Now, what we can see on the charts right now, if we take a zoom out, is that Bitcoin is just making its way up through this kind of broadening wedge pattern, which ultimately is a bullish pattern. It's broken beyond this line here. It's come up, it's retested, and right now you can see something very interesting. It's being bought up, and I anticipate having a break potentially like this at some point. However, there's always a chance it can come down and retest its levels. As long as it's remaining somewhere above this red line, I still remain bullish on Bitcoin. Now, whether or not it can remain above that line, I'm not here to mess around and think about. What I want to know is which coins will move in turn with Bitcoin. Now, why do I mean in turn? Well, I'll give you an example. More recently, we've seen Bitcoin moving towards the upside, and when Bitcoin is kind of going down and up, various coins move very closely along with it. Now, it's important that we look at those coins as being our best investment opportunities, in my opinion, of course, not financial advice, because when Bitcoin moves, it moves first. And yes, you're right. There are other coins, a handful of which, that have had very good years without being paired up against Bitcoin. Now, I'm a little bit cautious about those because they are very overbought right now and very high up. And I was talking about Casper the other day, saying that it had a very good chance of falling out of this area. And as you can see, it is currently doing that. I've got my take profit here, sat down here, and then we are going to start to see it going further down. You know, whether or not it gets all the way to take profit 4, I'm not sure. Take profit 2, I think, is a fairly obvious one, potentially a take profit 3. If you want to see these setups before they happen, then make sure you get into my Inner Circle Discord link down below. Here you can see I broke down that Casper chart, and I told you that it was going to come out of this red zone and start moving south as it has done now. As well as that, in this group, you can access the technical analysis from a number of other traders who are pretty much trading full time. There's a channel for NFTs and gaming where people are making money trading NFTs. There's an area where you can chat with other crypto enthusiasts around the world to find out what they're buying, what they're selling, ask all your crypto questions. And as well as that, we have been investing in pre-ICO launch cryptos. That means that we've been able to get in at such a low price before it even hits that public sale price. And you can't do this anywhere else, guys. If you want to be able to get in and buy like a whale, like I was doing before, where I bought Tenet for 2 cents and saw it go to 28 cents on day one, then you need to be getting into the Inner Circle, link down below, $9.99 per month, 5-day free trial. So what I'm talking about is I want coins that have been moving along with Bitcoin, and you don't need to really think too smart about this right now, guys. We need big market cap coins early on in the market because we're not looking to buy and hold these forevermore. In my opinion, we should be using these to get ourselves off the ground, okay? Whenever Bitcoin makes that first move up to around 40K, which could theoretically happen soon, could theoretically take longer, who knows? We want to be in crypto projects that are not going to go to zero and have already been solidly battle tested, and the coins that are going to be able to move with a Bitcoin. How do we know they move with Bitcoin? Well, look, this is Solana. Well, here we go at the top, we've got Bitcoin, and at the bottom, we've got Solana, and you can see it's a pretty much identical chart. But what's important here is when Bitcoin sees these pumps, like it saw here, when it went up 24%, in the same amount of time, you saw Solana rallying 135%. This is very, very important, okay? Because Solana is gonna perform strongly when Bitcoin performs strongly. For me, that's a very obvious one to be getting into because of this. I've also talked this year about why Solana has been undervalued because of all that drama with FTX. As well as that, it's just signed a massive deal with Shopify, who run 10% of the US e-commerce, and a huge deal with Visa. For me, it's a no-brainer. Solana's going to see a big bit of growth. Other coins I've been buying and will consider continuing to buy are the likes of ICP that have been squeezed and squeezed down towards the downside. And you're right, we could see these heading further south, but I'm looking for coins that have the ability to be battle tested, have gone through some pretty bad stuff. Again, ICP has been through that drama with FTX, which everyone calls it a scam. It's not a scam. And that's why I'm into it, because everyone thinks it's a scam. However, they're doing some pretty incredible things, and in my opinion, are going to be the future of Web3 and the internet. Obviously, it competes with Solana, so I get that people will be questioning that. Veracity, we can see having a good reaction the other day to some positive news about Veracity. Since then, I made a video literally up here telling you it would likely pull back. You can see it's now down around 24%, potentially a good opportunity for me to be able to get into this if I see fit. Now guys, look at them all. Ethereum broke towards the downside today, putting this wick Look what happened last time it left a wick down here. It broke all the way back up, 13%. Potentially if Ethereum's breaking up here and retesting these levels again, then we could be pushing higher once more. I think a lot of people in the market are really fearful of getting involved into these crypto markets right now, because a lot of people are starting to feel the fear, the squeeze. This week, we have inflation news, we have interest rate data. You've only got to have suddenly someone turn around and tell you that an ETF or BlackRock or whatever's been approved, and then you got to watch the market go, guys, because it's going to catch you and it's going to go so quickly. If you're waiting for that scam wick or whatever towards the downside, it might come, but if it never comes, how are you going to feel if you wake up one morning and Ethereum is already up here where you could have made yourself 60%? Because if you were in the last bull market, you'll know there are mornings you wake up and it's up 50%, 60%, and particularly in the cases of like Solana, that in the last bull market, there were days that he woke up and it was like 150% up. What I've done is I've picked my coins, of which I've got a handful. And if you want to know exactly what they are, again, get into that inner circle. But really, I'm looking right now to continue to find as much cash flow as possible and to go as hard as I can into these projects. If they do fall over and roll over and we get down here, then, you know, then I'm going to be looking to buy more, okay? Of course. And I know that I can afford that if it happens, because I know that I can afford in my situation to sit in the red for 6 months. But I know that I can't afford to miss out if the crypto market rips towards the upside. It's up to you guys. If you feel like you can afford to be down in crypto, then maybe crypto is something you can be interested in. If you don't feel like you can live with being in the red in crypto, then you shouldn't be in crypto. I hope that makes perfect, clear sense. Get yourselves into the inner circle, and I will see you in the very next video. Bye-bye.